Next on the agenda is public comments, and Jamie Addison called and said he would like to speak. So we'll let him speak, and then, we'll go one at a time and let you all, have this minute to say what you need to. So Jamie is.
I'm right here, I'm right
Okay.
here.
And before you speak, you need to state your name. The, news media asked us to have everybody to state their name before they start to speak.
Okay. I'm Jamie Addison. I'm here tonight, still over the mowing contract. Same, everybody's at the same stance they was at the first time I was here 2 months ago. But it is my belief that if you know something's wrong and you stand back and don't do nothing, and you look away, and there's a whole lot of people that's looked away at this thing and done nothing about it. You hear rumors that the county attorney didn't sign the warrants for the thing. You hear rumors about things. I'm not going to be one of the people that turned his head and didn't do the right thing. And I've received threats for coming up here and talking about this, which is, that's fine. You can believe me, don't believe me, whatever y'all want. But it's happened. I mean, it's happened. But I'm not going to. I'm going to live my life knowing that I was doing right. If somebody does something to me and hurts me, or does something to me because I did something that was right, me and the good Lord can live with that. And that's where I'm at tonight with that. But let me start off. I'm going to tell you a story about my oldest son, who was 4 years old. And I was supposed to be watching him one day, and I probably wasn't doing my job, just truthfully honest. And he was in the playroom, and I was in the living room. Well, he got quiet. Well, I walked out there in the playroom, and I said, "Son, have you been eating cookies?" There was crumbs all over the floor, all over his mouth. He said, "No." I said, "Son, do not lie to me." I said, "Was you eating cookies?" He said, "No." I said, "Son, you're not in trouble for eating cookies. You're in trouble for lying to me and covering it up." Well, the other day, about 2 weeks ago, my youngest son, I made him a glass of milk. We was getting ready to leave to go somewhere. And I walk out in the playroom, and just as I'm walking out, I see milk in the floor, and I see my youngest son laying in the floor, sitting there. He's laying right over that pile of milk. And my oldest son's looking at him and saying, "Just tell Dad you spilled the milk, and you wouldn't be in no trouble. But whenever you try to cover it up, you're going to be in more trouble." That's what my 7-year-old said to my 3-year-old. And that's exactly where I'm at here with the city council. I'm fixing to point out all the crumbs that have been left by the city council. I've got it in black and white right here. I want to make sure everybody agrees on the city council with what the mayor said. I don't want to mess this up. So I'll take it, mayor's word for word. The mayor said, we didn't have to look at the other bids given for the city mowing contract because there was no need. We already had the best man for the job, and commends the council for sticking by their original decision. To me, that is a good council. Now, does everybody agree with that?
I have to say, the reason they didn't have to look is because he's mowed it for 15 years, and we've never had a complaint.
Does everybody agree with the mayor's statement?
Yes.
Y'all all agree that everybody stuck to the original decision, and that's correct, right? Okay. I just want to make sure everybody agrees with that. I'll give y'all copies. I started out down there at number 7. But I'm going to go back to your original decision, which actually was the original decision in black and white. The original decision was up here on the other side at number 1. Nancy, could you read the original decision for me? If anybody else wants copies, y'all can pass it around. You want to read what the original decision was? Anybody? I'll be glad to read it if y'all want me to read it. The council decides not to renew the contract with Recuity Enterprise, instead rebid March 11th, 2013. After much discussion, unanimous decision was carried. That was unanimous. Every one of you raised your hand and said you was not going to give it back to Mr. Recuity. Every one of you. Well, what was the discussion like in that room that night? Does anybody?
Was that in the minutes, Lawson?
Yes, it's in the minutes, because I looked it up. I mean, you can look it up too, but I looked it up too.
Well, there was some discussion.
David Haley's the one that brought it up, and
He was up for an automatic rebid, for a rebid, or just accept an extension.
that's correct. That's okay. So, what was your reason for rebidding it out?
Because we wasn't sure, or I wasn't sure whether the option was open to automatically let him have it back, or if it was time to rebid.
So, is that everybody's stance that it was just y'all didn't know whether it was time to rebid, or
I wanted to see what was out there.
was you? I mean, all right. So, was you trying to get lower bids?
I was just trying to see who would be interested in mowing.
Okay, and what did you think about them people?
I
Well,
don't think,
I thought
I just don't think the council's on trial here.
I'm not putting you on. I'm asking questions that ought to be answered.
Okay?
Right.
If they
All
want
right,
to answer, fine, but if they
Let
don't,
me,
then
okay,
move on.
okay, that'll be fine. Danny, the last time that you tried to get rid of Recuity Enterprises, what was said to you whenever you spoke out against him? Not this last contract, but the time before. What exactly was said? Mr. Recuity, what did he actually say to you?
He didn't actually say anything, he just walked out, he was upset with me.
He was upset with you. Okay. All right. And then after y'all voted that, y'all had a lot of discussion, but I guess I'm not gonna get what the reasoning was. And then the Standard on number 2 right here reports that the meth investigation and upcoming indictments for the Butler Road farm owned by Recuity. That was the next thing, right? That was in the paper, it didn't, y'all may have missed that. So I'll say, but right here, number 3, we have a call for bids, which includes removing leaves, resetting fallen stones, and removing dead floral arrangements on a weekly basis. Does he do all that? Everybody's in agreement that he does all that. Everybody?
As far as I know.
Everybody's in agreement, okay. I don't know how long these stones have been laying on the ground, but people tell me 4 to 5 years. And that's just a few of them, but I mean, y'all tell everybody else that they have to straighten the stones and everything else, but maybe he doesn't have to. I mean, you can see where they've been weed eater ground. It's a bunch of them on the ground out there. I mean, but I know, but right here it says everybody else that had to bid had to make sure that they picked up them stones. I mean, and it's several of them down like it, but like I said, any comment? I mean, I've checked them the last 4 weeks. Them there have been on the ground for 4 weeks. That I know the man that told me about it said they've been there for 4 to 5 years. I mean, everybody's here saying how great a job he does and everything else. I'm just curious. Okay. All right, and then we go from there to number 4, where y'all, Recuity Enterprises was awarded the bid for the cemetery maintenance, which was $12,000 higher than the lowest bid. Mayor Nancy Kemp said right here, I don't have a clue as to why a lower bid was not selected. A little bit surprised. What exactly did you mean by that comment, Nancy?
I meant that it was not my place to say that to the paper.
Well,
I know exactly why, because I don't have to come to work in the morning being ashamed of our cemetery. We've had grass up knee-high, half knee-high, and we get complaints every day. But you didn't hear those complaints.
Okay.
And I know you have somebody buried out there. Do you have anybody buried out there?
My mama's there,
Well,
and that's where I was taking the pictures from.
You can get permit from the state and have your mama moved anytime you want to. I'm not a
Oh my goodness, Nancy. Oh my goodness.
We're gonna dig the whole graveyard up.
That's hilarious.